of one of your kids, or just go to the movies? Is it?
No, the movies are great. They turn the lights off, right. And no, but I'm not bothered when I'm out in public or anything. I mean, somebody might ask for a signature, rarely, but that's not a difficult thing.
Yeah. What would you do over again? Obviously, the success is phenomenal, but when you look back, I always say that when you talk to very successful people, they'll talk to you first about their failures, because those are where the lessons come. Where were the stub-the-toe moments that kind of stick with you?
Well, Microsoft, because we were first in the software industry, we had a chance to make so many more mistakes than anybody else, but we made them so fast. And we did a few things right, too. You know, people, said that we'd be killed by IBM OS2 or Novell NetWare or Netscape or all these things, and yet, we were very adaptive. We brought in good people. So we made, I wouldn't go back and change anything, because we've been adaptive enough that even despite our mistakes, we've come out now with a stronger research program, a stronger position in terms of software breakthroughs than we've ever been in. In fact, we have very few competitors who do long-term things. If you take something like machine translation or visual recognition or ink recognition, these very complex topics that will define the software experience of the future. That's like the most obvious thing in the world. Almost none of our competitors work in those areas. And so as those come rolling in, we'll be fine. So we picked the wrong people in many cases. We thought that if you were smart, you could learn how to manage in some cases, and that's not as often the case as we'd like it to be. So today that the ones that would stand out are, geez, how do we get our critical mass of a ad market ahead of what anybody else has got? How do we get our media experiences ahead of what anybody else has got? But 2 or 3 years from now, I bet that won't be the list. I hope it won't be the list.
We have a political system now that doesn't always channel our most, and this is no comments on the current administration, our most brilliant thinkers into politics or into the White House. How about a Bill Gates for president?
Well, I certainly will never be a politician.
No, but I said, why one of the great minds of our country, a humanitarian, certainly accountable to no one, why not a Bill Gates for president?
For every reason. I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't be elected. I'm better at what I'm doing. That's a very unusual job, and the work I can do, whether it's time spent on Microsoft or the foundation, is what I've really, all my learnings kind of build up to being able to operate in that way. And so I'm going to stick to what I know.
Next up, Bill Gates talks about your kids and technology. And guess what he does on Saturday mornings? Coming up next.
I've got
Big machines. With my one-on-one exclusive with Bill Gates, we talked about kids and technology. Some fascinating insights from the world's richest man. Take a look.
Are we in danger in that, obviously, in this new world, and as everything gets more and more individualized, and the theme of this conference is about connecting and about me, that somehow advertisers and marketers won't be able to get as big a bang out there because everything is so fragmented, and that the pieces will not add up to the sum? In the past, in the traditional world, we had the 30-second TV commercial, you had 80 million eyeballs, boom, you went home. Obviously, everything is so much more customized now, but does it get so fragmented that the big advertisers of the world can't get that boom anymore?
No, in fact, this environment will be way better for them, because instead of thinking of buying a show where you just get the audience for that show, they can think about buying an audience, a demographic, a certain time of day, and across all sorts of media experiences, they can buy the idea of creating lots of impressions with that person. And so they won't have to go through this indirect approach of saying, well, a lot of people who watch that show I don't care about, but that's my only way to get that audience. You can just say, I want that audience. And if they're watching a video that was taken locally of the local high school game where somebody wants an ad inserted, the system will do that matching. They'll say, okay, in this neighborhood, these are the people you want. Let's go out and get that ad. It's worth it to you to have that exposure. And then you can see that in a report, but you didn't have to get involved in thinking about how it got pulled together. There's a lot of kind of manual effort and inefficiency of figuring out shows as proxies for targets that this just disintermediates. You really are buying the target.
Is there a flip side to technology? It's interesting. I remember years ago watching the Bill Gates Amy biography. I'm sure you've caught it many times. And it talked about you as a kid, and you were this brilliant kid, and you were just drawn to computers, and they called you a computer nerd and all this stuff. And are we getting to a place where kids today have an ability to disenfranchise, because there is so much for us to do in our own worlds, and it gets more and more customized, that in some way, although technology brings us together, is it also pulling us apart?
Well, technology is just a tool to let you do what you're interested in. So if your family moved from India to come here in the United States and you want to connect back to the newspaper, the radio show, the friends back in India, technology is an enabler to have you do that. If your grandparents are back there and you want to share some of your experience or interactively play games together, you got it. I've got friends around the United States that I play bridge with. We're not in the same location, but a lot of Saturday mornings we're online, and it's a fun, social kind of experience. And so fragmentation only happens when people want to be fragmented.
Well, I mean, that's my point, that a young person, we all know about, we assimilate to groups. And for a lot of people, assimilating is a very difficult process, particularly through adolescence, in that this allows us to not go through that process. And if it is challenging to connect with other people, certainly for a social kid it's not an issue, but for those of us who we don't connect with other human beings as easily, and 30 years ago we had to go through an assimilation process, technology doesn't force that into us, force us into it, or in a bit more of a certainly a less human way. Am I making any sense with that?
No, the basic experience of when you first meet people and get to be friends with them will still be overwhelmingly face-to-face. The difference now is when you're not with those people, instead of just picking up the phone and their parents tell you not to tie up the phone line and all you can do is talk to each other, you can have the homework you're working on together and a chat session with another person and browse the web together. You just have richer tools when you are staying in touch with that person to plan things together and get your work done together, share your playlists and your cool photos. And even while you're watching TV in the future, you'll be able to open up a chat line where you can sit and comment on the show even when you're in a different place. So in some ways, what we have on Xbox Live today with contests, the ability to match people up who've got the same skills, or say you don't like somebody so you don't want to ever be matched with them again, that kind of digital ecosystem is more what the future of entertainment will be like. Very community, communication, socially oriented, than just, I turn on a show. I don't know if it's a popular show. I don't know if my friends are watching it. If I want to comment on it, I have to wait till I see them the next day. It'd be kind of neat to see your buddies who are watching the same show, or if you're trying to pick a show, just see if your buddy's decided he's going to share with you what he's watching now, what he's watching in the future. So the tools let you connect up and even be engaged socially in what would have just been a passive sit-on-the-couch experience.
Next up, we go back a little bit. Talk to Bill Gates about his teenage years. Most teenagers were thinking about dates. He was thinking about the future. It was called personal computers. Bill Gates is a teen.
But throughout our high school years, it was like this: why don't other people see what we see? It doesn't make any...
That's a look at one of the very cool exhibits they have at the Microsoft campus. It's called the Home of the Future. And it displays examples of Microsoft technology they hope we'll be using in the years to come. Bill Gates gives me a preview of some of that new technology as an exclusive 101. Continues from Microsoft headquarters in Redmond, Washington.
You have the Home of the Future here 15 years from now. What is my life like at home? What is my life through the day versus different now? Take me into the kitchen, take me into the bedroom, some of the things that I would see if I went into that Microsoft Home of the Future.
Well, there's several themes that jump out when you tour that home. The first is that every surface area is a screen. And so projecting the map of where your kids are, the family schedule, onto the wall, the refrigerator, the counter, because projectors have become so cheap, the information you care about just shows up everywhere. Another big theme is that you move around the house, you're not having to tune each of those devices. If you're watching the morning news show, as you go from room to room, that follows you around. Even as you leave the house, it's there on your phone. It can be available to mark those clips and send those out to other people. So you're pervasively involved. It can see who you are and react accordingly. You can give voice commands. Sometimes fine, you'll walk over to a keyboard and type something in, but the voice recognition, the ink recognition will be such you just pick up and scribble or utter something, and